Hey guys, Jordan from B&B Campers. Just going to do your handover video on your VW T6. It's the Land Roamer conversion. You can see we've got the sticker on the side just there, Land Roamer. So let's just start under the bonnet here. Like I said, it's a T6 VW on a 67 plate. On the left hand side here we've got your air filter inside the box there. Power steering fluid sits in this reservoir at the very front. Brake fluid is in this reservoir just here, attached to the servo just behind it. Engine oil gets topped up through here. Just basically makes it easier for you to get to that. Engine oil dipstick is this yellow topped one just here at the very front of the engine. Washer fluid gets topped up through here at the front, and the engine coolant sits inside this reservoir here. The engine battery itself is this one just underneath this little cover here, which looks nice and neat if you get it in properly. And you've just got a couple of fuses up here, so you don't need to worry about these whatsoever, but they are fuses to do with the things inside the vehicle, and the leisure battery side of things are to do with those. But essentially all that is, so you've got power running from your alternator down here in the engine directly to your engine battery here, and you've also got basically what's called a split charger. So it splits that power that comes from the alternator to the engine battery, splits that power off between there and the leisure battery inside the motorhome. So any decent motorhome has got one of these, and you know, like I say, all it does is mean that when you drive the vehicle you're charging engine and leisure at the same time. So that's what those are, just in case you wondered. So if you just carry back around the outside of the vehicle for now, at the back of the vehicle here we've got your gas locker. So you can see it's a nice sized gas locker there. You got a 6 kilo propane bottle in here. Turning the bottle on anti-clockwise around to the left, turning it off clockwise around to the right, basically turning it down. The regulator over there is obviously brand new because it's not been used before, and the pigtail you've got there has got a 2022 date on it, so you've got till 27 to replace that. But basically we'll leave that on for the moment. The lower locker is just storage, quite a lot of it. Underneath the bed just here, got the heater box there, and the table and table leg. On the offside we've got your hookup point. So the hookup's plugged in at the moment, as you can see, just so I can show you a few bits working on the inside, because there's a massive spec in here. And the vent just there is for your fridge. Okay, so just go on the inside now. So the actual spec of the cab and the motorhome are both pretty much, you know, the highest spec you can get. So obviously we've got your automatic DSG gearbox, which is absolutely as smooth as you like. Cruise control directly from the steering wheel just there, you can set that exactly as you want it. Air conditioning works from the middle just here. Heated windscreen is the bottom middle button just there. You can turn your parking sensors on and off from this button. Automatic start stop, you can turn that on and off from there. You've got aux and USB point just there as well. You've got steering wheel functionality on the right hand side there, and you've also got your heated wing mirrors, and you've got your electric adjusting wing mirrors there as well. So very high spec in the cab. There are probably other bits and pieces that I've missed out, but you know, I'm not a massive VW expert, to be completely honest. The bonnet release on these is just down there on the driver's side. The bonnet itself goes up on gas struts, so you haven't got to worry about, you know, hooking it up or anything like that. You'll notice I've got the roof up at the moment, so you can see, you know, how much space there is up there, because this is a long wheelbase vehicle. The bed at the top here is absolutely massive. There's also a switch just down here. When you turn that one on there, it gives you your lights up here. So that bed is really, really nice and big. And just make sure that you turn this light off here whenever you finish with those ones, just in case it gets a bit hot up the top. You can unzip this part just here to get you to a clear screen, so it does still completely seal up, but it means that you can have this completely open if you want to, if it's a nice day outside. Same kind of idea for the sides, apart from when you open it up, it should just be a fly screen. Yep, there you go. So you can open these ones up and let loads of air come through if you want to. You can see they're exactly the same on both sides. But for the minute, I'm just going to leave them closed so it stops any breeze coming through. To actually pull the roof down and secure it, you basically just pull this bed down and then pull the roof down with these handles. Once the roof's down, you need to make sure that the sides are pulled in as well, because sometimes you'll find that when you look on the outside, the fabric there will be bulging out from the sides. So you need to make sure it's all pulled in. Once you've done that, just basically tighten down these straps just here. And sometimes there's a little bit of a hint or a bit of a tip, just for another sort of like extra safety thing. When you pull them down and tighten them on, you can just wrap them around the tops of these seats here or somewhere, you know, reasonably strong, just in case they give way. But they, you know, they won't. But just in case, something that I like to do. Right. So the actual motorhome itself, like I said, really, really massive spec in here. So you've got the microwave, induction hob, 12-volt fridge, all those bits and pieces. But we'll start down here in this little locker down here. So this is a Sargent, so this is your PSU, a power supply unit. It's an EC160 and it's really, really simple to use. So basically, instead of having a power supply unit and a control panel, these Sargent units are both 2-in-1. So when you plug the hookup cable in, you'll have access to using this switch just here, which says battery charger. When I turn this off, you'll notice that the battery voltage will go down to about 12.5, roughly. It will go down a little bit further. So what that's done is it's basically stopped the charger, which is inside this box here, from sending power to the leisure battery. This will only work when your hookup's plugged in, like I said. I turn that back on, charger comes back to life and then puts about 13.5 volts in. Talking about the mains, we've got your mains trip switches in here. So if your mains cable is plugged in, you may basically need to have a little look in here and make sure these are all in the upright position and showing a bit of red. So plugging that hookup cable in is really, really useful for this specific van, because not only do you get your battery charger coming on, it also means you get to use your microwave, which is mains powered only, and also your Sterling Power induction hob. You do also get access to using any of the main sockets, which you don't, you know, you can't use those unless the hookup's plugged in. But there you go. So that's the main stuff. You can turn this little screen off here if you want to, just by pressing this button here. But for the most part, you're going to want to leave that on. When you turn the 12-volt power switch off, that screen goes off anyway. I'm not going to do that for the moment because I've got the fridge on. So you can see this little rocker switch here that says 1 or 2. So 1, or facing up, is basically everything that's powered by 12-volt power right now. So the light there, the 12-volt fridge, all those bits and pieces that are 12-volt are now being run directly from the leisure battery. If I turn this down to vehicle battery, what happens is anything that's still being powered by 12 volts, so any lights, anything at all, are now being drawn directly from your engine battery. It also means when you put your hookup cable plugged in and the battery charger switch on, now that I've chosen vehicle battery, the battery charger inside of here is now charging the vehicle battery, and that voltage there is the vehicle battery's voltage. You don't really want to do this for any reason, to be completely honest. You don't need to use the vehicle battery one. Unless you want to use this system as a battery charger, I wouldn't select vehicle battery for any reason. For the most part, you're going to want to leave that on leisure, because you don't want to drain out your engine battery so that you can't start the vehicle, basically. Okay, so for the most part, if you want to use the motorhome, leave it up on leisure battery, and then you can go ahead and use whatever you like. The next one says lights and aux. So lights and aux is basically self-explanatory for the lights, but anything like that, so your little 12-volt socket there, they're probably powered by the aux switch and will only work when that one there is switched on. And the one to the right there is your water pump. So as soon as you have that switch on, your submersible pump, which sits inside the water tank there, will be basically sent power and will allow the tap to work. I'll show you that in a little bit more detail in a minute when I open this locker up at the bottom. So that's those 3 switches there. You've also then got your 6 fuses. There is a little word underneath each of those telling you exactly what it does. So for example, if your lights stopped working one day, you can check this little fuse here, the 10 amp fuse that says lights underneath it. So that's your control panel and power supply unit. It's really nice to have that all in one place, so it's not, you know, affecting anything else or in the way of anything. And also nice that you can completely close that up. The charger itself will make a little bit of noise, but because it's nicely tucked in this cupboard here, you can barely hear it. So I'm going to close that up for now. Up here we've got your heating at the top, so that's a gas heating. This sort of control panel here is all just to do with this induction hob unit. And as I said, at the bottom here you've got your mains power, 12-volt power, and TV aerial point if you had one fitted. So the heating system, I'll just get down here, it's a bit easier to hold the phone. So if I turn this button on here, you can see straight away it's going to try and get to 15 degrees. Okay, so I can turn that up if I want to. Right, so there you go. So now I've started pressing this, now it's showing us the temperature that it's trying to reach. Okay, so just like a boiler, we're going to cool for 26 degrees. Okay, so it reckons it's 16 degrees inside. I've just heard straight away the gas is lit up, and we've got a little red symbol there showing us that the gas is lit. So essentially we've got air being pumped out through this bottom vent here and air being drawn in from the top one. So if you cover this vent up, it will eventually, you know, struggle to work basically. So make sure that you don't cover these vents up for any reason at all. But you can feel the warm air already coming out through this bottom vent here. So if I wanted the temperature to be set more realistic, so if you, for example, if you set it at 20, it would get to 20 degrees inside here. There's a little thermostat in there, top one I think actually, thermostat. It will get to 20 degrees and turn itself off. When it thinks it needs to come back on, it'll come on. So it really is as simple as that. As long as you've got your gas in your locker switched on, you basically just set your temperature, let it go, and it will show you what the temperature actually is inside. All right, so it's 16 degrees inside, and it's going to try and reach 22. All right, it really is as simple as that. Turn it off. I think you push and hold. There you go. So push and hold on that button there to get it to turn off. The fan will carry on for a little bit after you've had it on, just to cool itself down. But that is it, really simple. Make sure that you switch your gas off before you start driving as well, by the way, just in case you didn't know that. So the bottom one, the lower one here, sorry, like I said, is all to do with your induction hob. Now this will only work, I can turn it on, but it'll only actually work when you put an induction hob on here. Okay, it's not going to start heating up or anything until you put an induction pan, sorry, onto this plate. So once you go ahead and put that on there, you can then mess about with all this and you know, do what you need to do, set your temperature, all that sort of stuff. But because I don't actually have an induction hob here to show you it working, I can't really do much. But there you go. So that's how you turn that on and off there. All right. All the time that your power is sent to that, you will get that little light flashing in there, which unfortunately might be a little bit annoying, but you can probably, thinking about it, you can probably turn that off. Which one will that be? That's your charger. That's not it. Right, there you go. So if you, okay, so actually that's powering the microwave as well. If you're not going to be using the induction hob or the microwave, you can turn this little MCB off here and that'll stop the power going to either of those. But if you are, then you need it on. All right. Okay. So this lower locker here has got your leisure battery inside of it. And you can see there the corresponding fuses in there. Like I said, all to do with the split charging and the fridge. So that's all there. Put those back on to cover those terminals up. I'll do that in just a minute. Right, so that's where your leisure battery sits inside there. The microwave, like I said, it's just mains powered only, but it's all just completely brand new. So the original book pack's in there, all the original casing, so it won't shake around once you're driving and things. Down here are your water tanks. So the fresh water tank is on this left hand side here, and you can tell that because it's got the freshwater pump inside of it, and the wastewater tank is the one on the right with the grey hose going into it. So essentially the idea is with these, fill the freshwater tank up when you get to wherever you're going. You can fill it up before you leave, but it would always be a good idea to put this cap on it after you've done that so that it doesn't spill around whilst you're driving. So basically, to do that, if I just sit down properly so I can show you, to do that, all you need to do is loosen off this little clip here so that you can get the tank out. Pull this pump out from inside. So you literally, as you can see, you quite literally just pull it out like that. Once you've got that out, you can take the entire tank completely out. It's really nice to be able to do that because it means you can take it out and properly clean it up. Now obviously, you know, this is only 10 litres, and a lot of the bigger motorhomes have got onboard tanks that are like 100 litres, and that's great, but it is also a bit more difficult to clean them. So having access to taking this out is, you know, really helpful for cleaning and things. But there you go. So put that back in, imagining that we've got enough water in it that we want now. You just literally tighten this up. It's a little bit easier with two hands, obviously, but you can tighten that back up and then you're ready to go. The waste tank, like I said, any water that goes down the drain hole for the sink just goes directly into there. So if I just show you that working, so if I lift up the tap here, that's all I'm going to do, right? So when I lift this up, you'll hear the pump working, drawing water out of this fresh tank, and then I can show you it physically going in to the waste tank. There you go, so water's being drawn from there and draining into there. Okay, so that's how that works. So it's all on board, which is also good because it means that no water is really going to freeze up. You know, because this van's really well insulated, it doesn't really matter how cold it gets. The water inside here, it isn't going to freeze. But there you go. So that's what that is. Your charger. So you've got basically that's all to do with your split charging. Okay, so where is it? Yeah. So basically that's to do with your split charging stuff. So when your engine's running, that's all to do with that. So you don't really need to know, to be honest, you don't need to know too much about that, but that's what that's there for. You've got a gas isolator tap just there for your hob. If you wanted to isolate the gas from that, you can do just by turning that little lever inside there. This is a little cutlery drawer in here, and we've given you a Pure Clean pot. So this is basically just stuff to decontaminate your fresh water so that you can drink it. Cleans and purifies. There you go. Okay, so that's that little drawer in there. This one here is just access to the bottom of your sink, which, you know, this is brand new conversion, so you shouldn't have any problems for a long time. But if you do ever get any issues with the sink or the tap, this is really easily accessible, which is, you know, makes life a lot easier for working on these things. So I'll close these up for now. In fact, I'll leave it open so that I can tighten that on in a minute. The last bit is your Dometic 12-volt fridge. So it opens from this side on the left. So I've had this on for about 5 minutes before I started the video, and I can tell you that that fridge is already really cold inside this freezer unit, and obviously it's going to get colder because it'll go freezing, but the fridge after literally 25 minutes is actually really cold already. So that's just showing you how good these fridges are. So the way that this fridge works, press and hold on this little button here, turns the entire thing on or off. So like it is now, completely off, absolutely nothing happening at all with this fridge. Okay, if I turn it on, it comes on like that. So all you need to do, literally all you have to do, is turn it on and off and set your temperature. So if I press this, so I just want to, the only thing I need to show you really, so you literally just set it from 1 to 4. If you go all the way up like this, you can then press and hold this button here for 3 seconds. And that takes you up to the last one there. Okay. So all that was doing just there, just so you know that as well, because the fridge was already cold, it basically turned itself off because it's not, because I had it on the lower settings. So if I do that again, because the fridge is already cold, that is now too low a setting for this fridge to work. So it will do that. So basically the fridge is too cold for the setting that I've chosen. Okay, so when the fridge warms up a little bit again, it would come on. But for the most part, you're going to want this fridge to be really quite cold, so you can leave it there. Okay, so that's on the maximum setting. A lot of the time you'll find that they're just sat on this one, but to be completely honest with you, every fridge is different, every motorhome is different. So you'll just have to sort of see how you get on with it. If that's too cold, just set it a little bit lower. But I tend to find that you know, that one there or this one here tend to be pretty good. So for the minute, I'm going to turn that off. Now obviously you can turn that on and leave it on for the whole time that you're driving as well, because that will also carry on working whilst the engine's running, so that everything inside the fridge is cold when you get to where you're going. The last bit I want to show you is the bed. Now, obviously the beds on these are really, really simple, nice and easy to use. All you have to do is push this little button down here, and the entire bed, as you'll notice, is now free. So that will just lay all the way out flat. The only thing I will ask you to sort of be careful with is the seat belts. So when you're pulling the bed down, try and make sure that the seat belts don't go down that gap, because you can see that they want to. But if you let them go down that gap, basically the bed will just get stuck. All right, so the seat belts, the actual clips there, will get stuck in the mechanism. Not always, but they quite often do. So just make sure that they don't go down there. Otherwise, that is all you have to do. Pull it all the way out flat, and then when you go to push it back away, literally just push it back and wait for it to clip in. And that is it. I mean, that is a seriously strong bed. Really, really simple, really strong. The seatbelt clips are obviously down the sides there, and really easy to use. So that's it, I think. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else to show you. I mean, you've got your 2-burner hob up here with the piezo igniter. So you need to press the button there in order to get those to light up. And your gas needs to be switched on. Other than that, the main bits really, make sure that your gas is switched off before you start driving. But I know that you've got a motorhome already, so you probably know that. Make sure that your roof's down and secured properly, nice and tight. That's about it, really. So if there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going through again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.